Hello, wonderful people. Let's talk about socialization, one of the most misused, abused, and misunderstood concepts when it comes to homeschooling. So let's go straight into it. What is socialization? So by definition, socialization is the lifelong process through which people learn and internalize the values, beliefs, norms, behaviors, and social skills needed to function within a society. So, in simpler terms, it is how we learn to be a part of a group or a community. That's where we learn how to talk to others, what is acceptable, what is not, and in many cases, what is morally sound within that society, that community, or that culture. As I continue, you're going to hear me refer to parents a whole lot. And by parents, I am referring to any guardian, aunt, uncle, grandparent, anyone that has the sole responsibility of providing, caring for, and making sure that a child is educated. Okay, let's go. One of the questions that almost every homeschooler will get is some sort of question about socialization. Questions like, oh, so how is the child going to be socialized? Or what kind of activities are you going to put this child in so that they can be socialized? And those questions, although they're genuine, sometimes usually come from a lack of understanding on what socialization really is. Because, like the definition just stated, socialization is a lifelong process. Socialization starts at home, and that's where parents are teaching a child how to clean up after themselves, how to sit at a table and eat. And of course, that differs from culture to culture. Teaching them that it's not okay to do certain things, teaching them what is okay to do. So all of this is socialization, all right? What I have realized is that a lot of times when someone asks about socialization, they're really asking, how is your child going to play with other children? So socialization for a child is where the adults around that child are teaching them what is acceptable and what's not. So when a child goes to school, in this case, if say they're going to a formal or traditional school, they will now be putting into practice what has been taught initially at home. And of course, by extension, that classroom teacher or the school system should help to reinforce the values that were taught at home. And of course, we know that that's what they are trying to do. But it should not be something that is happening only on the school level. So think about it this way. If a child has to be in school to be socialized, then why are there so many social issues in school? By the time we get to grade 12, school should just be absolutely perfect, right? But we all know that that is far from the case. So that lets us know right there that socialization is simply more than a child being in a traditional school or a formal school setting. And this doesn't mean that any child will just go to school and get it right. We know better than that. Because some of us adults, we still struggling, right? But those children will have an understanding of how to function effectively in their environment. And I've been a teacher in the classroom, and now I'm homeschooling. And I can tell you, teachers can tell the children that have been taught properly at home, even those who come to school and try to act out. It's not expecting perfection, but there are some basic socialization skills that students are expected to come in knowing. And where does that come from? It comes from home. So back to the definition of socialization. If socialization is this lifelong process of learning and internalizing the values and beliefs and norms and behaviors of a society, if a child is in a home environment where the parents are teaching those values that are needed to function in society, whether they are homeschooled or whether they enter a traditional or formal schooling, those children will be okay. If they continue to grow with that home structure as they are homeschooled, they will be socialized efficiently. So let me just put a plug in right here. Many homeschoolers, at least where I am, are a part of more extracurricular activities and social activities and organizational activities than children in traditional schools. So that's another thing to consider. Can schools aid in socialization? Absolutely. As the definition stated, it's a lifelong process. Just this weekend past, I met a beautiful couple from Ghana, Africa. And my first question to them was, just from day to day, what are like two major differences in the culture from being here in the Bahamas and being in their home country? The first thing that was mentioned was passing items with the left hand. And in their culture, I was told that that is a sign of disrespect. Whereas here in the Bahamas, it doesn't matter. Like if you're passing something to someone, there's no particular hand that has any value or any that shows any disrespect or more respect, other than shaking hands, of course, which culturally is the right hand. If I were to travel to Ghana, I would have to be socialized on what is acceptable and what is not, even though I am an adult. So the next time you meet a homeschooler, before you ask, how is this child going to be socialized? I want you to think about it. What really is socialization? How am I still being socialized, even as adults? How are my children being socialized, even if they are in a traditional or formal school environment? If parents are intentionally teaching and training their children on the values and the beliefs and the morals that are necessary to be a productive member of their society or of society in general, whether that child or those children go to a traditional school or whether they are homeschooled, those children are going to be okay. So I really would like to hear from you on this matter of socialization. So it doesn't matter if you're a homeschooler, a teacher, a parent of children in traditional school. Please put your questions and comments in the chat, and we will talk next time.